Shalom, Israel. What's good, y'all? I, Atlas, am back again with another video. And today, we will be discussing a few things before the release of Sonic Burnout Part 3. Now, what are these things, you ask? Well, if you've read the title, we'll be discussing Sonic's lineage. Now, Sonic's lineage is something that's been discussed within prior comics or media before, but I believe that it's only fair to delve into it a little bit deeper for the Sonic Burnout series. Also, due to slight changes that I've made since my last Sonic Burnout video, it's only fair that I discuss said changes within this one. So, relax, sit back, grab some snacks, maybe grab like a fish sandwich with some wedge fries and a Fanta, and let's get started. So, ladies and gentlemen, we'll begin our story on Sonic's mother's side of the family, starting with Summer Silence. Now, if you don't know who Summer Silence is, that's cool. That's because we haven't really discussed this character at all. But if you know what this name is or have a familiarity with it, Summer Silence was a racing horse from America that was transitioned to Japan later on, and its children kind of affected the Japanese horse racing industry greatly. We'll get to that a little later, but just know that her side of the family starts with him. He was a well-known racer in the Mobian era. This was roughly during the early stages of Mobian society, where they were first starting into large-scale sports, one of them being racing. And he was known as the fastest Mobian of all time. You know, there was no Mobian that could keep up with him. Over time, he met someone, got married, and had kids. One of which being his daughter, who would then surpass him in speed. That being Tachyon. Now, Tachyon, as her name suggests, completely dwarfed Summer Silence's past records of speed, and would have went to even greater heights. However, similar to the actual horse Tachyon, she had a leg injury, which forced her to leave the racing field, thus ending her great racing career at only 4 wins and 0 losses. Now, Tachyon had a lot of siblings, similar to the actual horse, with most of the siblings actually being based upon the actual horses. But overall, she was the one who really stuck towards her father's legacy and wanted to surpass it in every way, shape, or form. However, her constitution just fought against her. And over time, she got a leg injury, and with said leg injury, she just couldn't keep racing anymore. She had to put the torch down. So how was her life before the leg injury? Well, before the leg injury, she was a well-known racer. As I said before, 4 races, similar to the actual horse. But that's not the point I'm trying to get to. The point I'm trying to get to is how on earth she met Sonic's father, Thro. Now, they met roughly at a large-scale Olympic-level event that was supposed to be a fundraiser event for the Mobian v Human War. It was supposed to be a rallying event for the nation of Soliana. And this was one of Tachyon's first races, right? The first time she was on the track, a little bit of starting race jitters, but overall she was pretty fine. Before she got to the track, that's where she met the up-and-coming soldier known as Thro. They had a brief conversation where they shared their ideals, with Thro believing that people like her should instead be putting all of their efforts into the military effort. If you're so skilled, you should be using that skill to help Soliana win this war, whilst Tachyon believed that those with such skill should be using it to protect the people at home, rather than worrying about killing the people from other nations. She believed that the war itself was foolish, and that Tachyon's strength would be better used in other fields. Their conversation ended as she had to leave for her race, and Thro decided to stay and watch her race, which again was her first race. and she completely dusted her competition, leaving them completely stunned. The first time she was racing, and she had completely dwarfed any and all other racers on the track. From here, Tachyon and Throw start to talk a whole lot more, but from now, their relationship was more of like a buddy-buddy relationship, like just friends, right? Cool friends, but friends. It was as their like lives continued, more conversations between each other, becoming pen pals when Throw went to the front lines before their relationship started to turn romantic. Of course, Throw had returned from the war for a while after Tachyon's leg injuries, for a brief hiatus. And it was during this time where Throw helped Tachyon through her depression caused by her leg injury, which is what led to their more romantic interactions, causing the two to fall deep in love with each other. One outing between the two would eventually lead to the creation of Sonic, but we'll get to that later. Everything else kind of happens the same way it did, with Throw then leaving once again to go to war because they feel like they're finally on the pushing point of pushing the Overlanders and the humans back, only for them to get screwed over because it was a trap. The facility explodes, Throw is heavily injured, and he has to rely on Dr. Eggman to completely reconfigure his body so that he could go back to see his family. But in actuality, Eggman was tricking them, and the rest is explained within the very first Sonic Burnout video. So, that is the changes that we made to Sonic's lineage. Everything else is kind of the same for now, and I don't want to spoil too much of the changes before the Sonic Burnout Part 3 thing comes out. So for now, I'll just leave you with the fact that the very next video we'll probably make is on Ken Khan, because he is a really interesting character, and I really loved him back in the Archie's comics, and I feel like I did him a disservice in the second Sonic Burnout video, where I didn't really talk too much about his arc or his role within this series. So I will be making up for that within the next video. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Share this with all of your friends and whatnot. We at Tusk Studios are heavily working on getting Sonic Burnout Part 3 done. We are currently trying to get the audio recorded and the editing and whatnot. And if you've ever worked on video production, it's not an easy task. It can be doable, right? Which is why we're doing it, but it's not an easy task. But don't worry, we won't be leaving you all high and dry. We'll try our best to post at a consistent basis whilst we're waiting for that video to be done. But anyway, I really hope that you all enjoyed this video. Be sure to share any of the ideas that you have for this universe down in the comments below. We at Tusk Studios like hearing from our fans and hearing from all of you, right? We love to hear your opinions on our stuff. So if you guys have anything you'd like to say or contact us, be sure to say it within our comment section. And if you have any artistic questions or comments, concerns, or requests, we do have a Tumblr, and the link to our Tumblr is actually within our YouTube channel, so go ahead and check that out whenever you get the chance. My co-host Kama has drawn a lot of art on our main page, which currently is on a hiatus, but we'll soon come back to that in late October, early November. But until then, Kwam Yasha Allah Israel. It's been a real pleasure to talk with you all, and I'll see you all in the next video. Stay frosty.